What's up, vinyl community and YouTube land? Kendall Stokes coming at you with the Spin Doctor and his Vinyl Mayhem YouTube channel. It is Saturday. Oh, well, I figured today I would just kind of go over some stuff that I picked up over the last few weeks, and also talk about this right here. So, I don't know if you noticed in my last video, my video about the guilty pleasures, you didn't really see me use my left arm very much. I kept reaching across quite a bit, so I'm going to change things up and grab from my right, so that way I don't have to make that mistake. But yeah, what happened was I made that video last week, just hours after I apparently broke a bone in my arm, or fractured a bone in my arm that goes to my elbow. The fracture is actually right at the elbow, and so basically what happened, I was out and I fell, took a tumble, and landed on my elbow here, and landed on a concrete floor, hurt real bad, and after about a day of realizing that the swelling and the range of motion in the arm was not getting better but getting worse, went to the local urgent care where they did x-rays and said, yeah, you got a fracture in the arm by the elbow, maybe one in the wrist. Here's a sling, go see an ortho. So I went and saw the ortho the very next day. He said, yeah, you got this fracture, don't do any twists of the arm like this, because the fracture is right here, and it's the bone that controls all the twisting. He said, don't need to cast it, just sling it. Come back in a couple weeks, we'll check the x-ray, see how it is, but don't do any of the twists and turns, because that bone's the one that controls all that. Just keep it in the sling. Try to do some stretches to make sure you get that range of motion back in. The swelling's going to be there. There's a bunch of bone marrow and blood and all that stuff that's got the swelling and all that stuff. Anyway, so that's what happened. So that's why I'm in the sling. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it's super annoying, because even though I'm right-handed, you don't realize how much you use your left arm. I will say this, no records were harmed in the fall. I did not have any records in my hands. And I ended up leaving the store with no records. That kind of swayed me from making any purchases that day. But I did make purchases the week before and made purchases this past weekend, and that's what we're going to go over. So the purchases that I have, I just got 5 records that I'm going to show real quick and talk about. They all came from either the Record Bar in Wilmington, Noble Records, and one did come from online, because I've been looking for this record for a long time, and the only place I could find it was online. So sometimes you got to make those purchases online. Anyway, first couple records I'm going to show, actually these really aren't in any kind of order, so let's get into it. This record right here I did pick up at Noble Records. This is a great record. This is from it's a newer band. They've been around for over 10 years now, but this is Rival Sons. This is their this is their album that came out in 2019, called Feral Roots. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Rival Sons, they are an awesome band that came out of California, the Los Angeles area, I want to say. But they are just a straight up awesome rock blues band, I would say. They actually opened up for Black Sabbath on their 13 tour, I think. If you hear that, that's my dog. I do apologize. But they are just a straight up awesome rock band. Something that, for the longest time, you'd hear, there aren't any good rock bands out there anymore. Well, Rival Sons, they are just a straight up awesome rock band. If you haven't looked them up online. They've got quite a few albums out, actually. This one came out in 2019. This is their latest, although they do have a new album coming out later on this year. I actually have the LP pre-ordered. The album's coming out in March, but the vinyl version's coming out in June. I have it pre-ordered, like I said. But this is a 2 LP set. Like I said, the album's called Feral Roots. Came out in 19. It was nominated for Grammys, actually. Didn't win, but it was nominated. But it's a great, great album. Jay Buchanan is their lead singer. He has just a very powerful voice, very booming. Just a great singer, just a great band altogether. Look them up. This is a great album, though. Like I said, just great, straight up, kind of a blues vibe to it, but just great rock. Just great rock music that needs to be around. Very happy that I found this at Noble Records. Picked it up at a great price, I think. Their stuff's not the easiest to find on vinyl, so being able to find it, I was very happy. It was, like I said, it was used. Just a great record, though. If you haven't heard this band, this is a great album to start with. This is, like I said, their first record. Pressure in Time is another great record, but all their stuff's really good. But start off with that one or this one, I would say. I think you will not be disappointed. Like I said, called Rival Sons. Look them up, guys. This record, so I picked this up at the Record Bar. I went there this past week. Saw my good buddies there. Did their Thursday night show on Facebook. Check them out every Thursday night. Do a live show selling new records and used records. But a lot of people, when they see my YouTube channel name, they automatically probably think of this band. The name of my channel was not based off of this band. It's just a coincidence. But it is the Spin Doctors. Yes, I know it. The Spin Doctor and the Vinyl Mayhem is actually showing a Spin Doctors record. Go figure, right? So, this band right here doesn't get enough credit, probably. Yes, this is really their only great record. It came out in 1991. Pocket Full of Kryptonite, their debut album. Great debut album, by the way. They're kind of a jam band, really. But this, had a bunch of hits on it. Two major ones. Two Princes and Little Miss Rock and Roll. Little Miss Can't Be Wrong, excuse me. But this is actually the Music on Vinyl version that came out in 2017. This album was actually not released in the US on vinyl back in 91. You can find European versions, I believe, and South American pressings, but not US pressings. But like I said, this is the Music on Vinyl pressing from 2017. I was actually very surprised that they did not do a 30th anniversary back in 2001. I'm not sure why. This is a great sounding pressing of this record. Very happy to actually find this. Music on Vinyl is one of those ones that, they only make so many copies of it when they do issues of it. So I was very happy to find it at the Record Bar. But this is actually a really great record. Really good band, too. A lot of people don't realize this. John Popper from Blues Traveler was actually in the Spin Doctors before they became the Spin Doctors. He left the band before 91 to focus on Blues Traveler. And he actually has some credits on this record. Some harmonica playing on a couple of records. A writing credit on one of the tracks, I can't remember which one, and background vocals on Two Princes. So yeah, John Popper actually was technically a member of the Spin Doctors at one time. He and the lead singer, Chris Bowen, I think is his name, were high school buddies. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, so John Popper, believe it or not, was a member of the Spin Doctors. A little trivia there for you if you didn't know it. But like I said, this is a great record. I think this band kind of catches a lot of flack, but they're a great band, I think. Really excited to add this to the collection. And so now we can say, yes, the Spin Doctor and his Vinyl Mayhem has the Spin Doctor's record. So we can let that one go now, people. This right here, this was actually this one came from Noble Records. Picked this up a few weeks ago. I don't have any Chuck Berry in my collection. And Chuck Berry is one of the kings of rock and roll, one of the forefathers. And this right here was a very cheap record. It's on the Trip label. which I don't know if anyone's ever seen this label. It's right there, Trip label. But this is Chuck Berry's 16 Greatest Hits. This was a very cheap record, but it's got everything you'd want from Chuck Berry. And for the price, I figured why not. I was a little worried about the quality of it, but it actually sounds really good. And you know, to get everything you need by one artist on one record for the price, I figured why not. You know, it's got, you know, Johnny B. Good, it's got Roll Over Beethoven, it's got My Ding-a-Ling, there you go. No Particular Place to Go, Rock and Roll Music, Nadine, Sweet Little Rock and Roll, You Never Can Tell. You know, Chuck Berry obviously was a hit maker back in the 60s, and just obviously one of the forefathers of great guitar playing. And so you got to have some Chuck Berry, and this, you know, fills a hole in my collection of needing some Chuck Berry. And like I said, I paid a very cheap price for it and very happy to have it. Now I, you know, can say that I have one of the greats in my collection. You know, you got to have some Chuck Berry. If you're a rock and roll fan, you need some Chuck Berry in your collection. I now have some Chuck Berry in my collection, so very excited to add this to it. So this right here, this was the new Blue Note classic that came out this week. Some Grant Green. Green is Beautiful. Picked this up at Noble Records as well. We all know about the Blue Note Classic series. You know, they do such an amazing job there. Mastered from original analog tapes by Kevin Gray, 180 gram vinyl. This one came out in 1970, and this is a great record. Grant Green may now be, it was Kenny Burrell, but Grant Green may now be my favorite jazz guitarist, especially his early 70s stuff, because it's more of that funk jazz, and this right here is no exception. It's got a cover of Ain't It Funky Now by James Brown, Day in the Life by the Beatles, I'll Never Fall in Love Again, which is a Burt Bacharach classic, which has been covered by so many artists. In my last video, actually, I talked about my favorite version of that is actually a Tom Jones version, Guilty Pleasure. But this right here is just an awesome jazz funk record. Grant Green, amazing guitar player. Some great players on here. Blue Mitchell on trumpet. Jimmy Lewis on the Fender bass. See some great congo and bongos. Yeah, Claude Barty on tenor sax. Yeah, just some great stuff. So always good to add a Blue Note to your collection. And you know, Grant Green, anytime they announce Blue Notes for Grant Green and Kenny Burrell, I'm probably always going to add them. You know, they've got the list out this year for the Tone Poets and the Blue Notes, and Kenny Burrell and Grant Green are announced for later this year. Looking forward to those. So this is just a great record. You know, the price for these are great, so if you haven't already picked this one up, I would say go ahead and do it. It's a great one if you like that funk jazz. So great one. And the last record I'm going to talk about is the one I ordered online. This is another newer band. They are from the UK, and it is the Struts. Now the Struts, like I said, they're from the UK, and they are a combination of, my opinion, Queen, David Bowie, and the Rolling Stones. This is their debut album. They've released 3 full-length albums. This one came out in 2016. It's called Everybody Wants, and it is phenomenal. This is probably one of my favorite debut albums, period. It's my favorite Struts album. Their second album's good, not great. Their third album was actually really good, but this is by far my favorite. Got a heck of a cover there. But this is phenomenal, and it's really hard to find, actually, believe it or not. It's on Interscope, I believe. Like I said, they have 3. They got really popular, I would say, once they toured with the Foo Fighters on their, was it the Concrete and Gold tour, I think? Back in 2000, was it 17? 18 maybe? I can't remember what year. But the Foo Fighters took them on tour with them, and they would always bring Luke Spiller, the lead singer, out with them to do a cover of Under Pressure. Because like I said, Luke Spiller, huge Queen fan, as the Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl, Taylor Hawkins, the entire band were huge Queen fans, of course, but they would always do a Queen cover. And Luke Spiller, like I said, he has that whole glam rock thing going, but the band itself really has that glam rock thing going. But they would do a cover of Under Pressure, and it was always killer. You can go on YouTube and find those. But look this band up if you like Queen, David Bowie, the Rolling Stones, because they have that whole 70s glam rock. If you're a T-Rex fan or a Slade fan, bands like that, you will like the Struts. They have that sound, they have that feel. Just a phenomenal band, and one of my new favorite bands that has come out in the last 5 to 10 years. They are phenomenal. When I think of new bands that have come out in the last 5 to 10 years, Rival Sons, even though they're probably past the 10-year mark now, but Rival Sons, who I showed first, the Struts, and Greta Van Fleet are probably, the top 3 bands that I can think of, although Greta probably lower on that list. The Struts number 1, Rival Sons number 2. But just, it shows that there's still really great new music out there. You just have to look for it. And so it makes me excited knowing that. But that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you look up the bands that I've talked about today, because they're really great. Rival Sons, the Struts, and then of course, the other albums I showed are older, of course. But yeah, that's what I got for you. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you hit that like and subscribe button. Leave me a thumbs up if you would. Leave me a comment, of course. Let me know what you think of what I showed you. Go back and watch some of my older videos. That Guilty Pleasure video I made last week, I've gotten a lot of comments on that, and I appreciate that. But hope to see you guys soon. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Peace.